you spend most of your life in the challenge zone. There's no question. So when you're enjoying the challenge of being in that zone, that's where your longevity will be. Because you as a player now, your bandwidth, your capacity, your level of endurance, the resilience in you as the human being, that is increasing all the time. And so because your confidence goes up, all of those other things I just mentioned, they are a natural byproduct of development that happens within you as a human being.
How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. My name's Max. I am your host. I'm the CEO here at Smith & Sons in Canada, and I'm also the founder of EliteBusinessAdvisory.com. So great to have you with me today. And look, if you're a first-time listener, really appreciate you dropping in and checking us out. I hope you grab some value from this episode. I'd encourage you to look around too. There's a bunch of other episodes that have been giving a lot of people value for the last few years. And if you're a long-time listener and you're hanging with me again, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming back. So it's amazing. I appreciate you doing that. Okay, as usual, get across to Business for Builders VIP on Facebook. Like I might have mentioned in the last episode, we really want to make, I do encourage you to email me, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com if you've got any questions. But, I think in the last episode, I might have spoken about, hey, let's get on that Business for Builders VIP and get those questions for that group. Because I think a lot of you guys and gals would have some pretty similar questions. I mean, there's not too much more we can do in the way of, reinventing the wheel or creating something new. There's not much new under the sun, to be honest. So if we can get into that community and just start dropping questions, that will actually be good for your fellow general contractors, builders, subcontractors even. I think it's just a great little melting pot of community where there's some collaboration and even some camaraderie. So I'd encourage you to get across there. Answer the 3 questions. If you're a good sort, I will shuttle you in and let's get after it in that regard. And, because a rising tide lifts all ships. So, if there's a question that you've got, odds on is there's going to be a dozen other guys and gals that are going to have the same question, and we can really help each other build a successful and a kick-ass business, which is what we want. Like and subscribe, all the good stuff. This will drop once a week, and get that notification coming to your inbox. That would be great. And I think we can get after it. Don't forget, if you want to look into some business coaching, hit me up. Book a consultation, 30 minutes. I'm not going to try and sell you anything. I'm just going to dump as much value as it relates to your business as I can. Take what you want, and maybe we'll just see where to from there in the as it relates to some official business coaching working with yours truly. All right, as usual, we want to make sure you get something to tuck under your arm and walk away with today that's going to help you increase your profitability and also give you a better lifestyle as a result. So today I'm going to chat about embracing the climb. For a guy that's been in the business now since June of 1989, and as we shoot this, we're getting to the end. It was my mum's birthday yesterday. We're end of June. So I've been around this industry now for probably longer than I care to think about, because it really makes me feel old. But I look at the different phases of play within my career, and every phase of play has always included a massive mountain to climb. It doesn't matter if it was my first day on a job site and I'm like, I have no clue as a 16-year-old what I am doing. And that was very intimidating. Matter of fact, even go back. I mean, I remember when I finished elementary school and I was going to get pushed into a private school, and I had to go and catch a bus because I was used to walking to school. We lived about 2 minutes walk from the elementary school or the primary school. And then I had to put on this stupid uniform, and I had to walk 1 kilometer to the bus stop, and I didn't know anyone on the bus. It was the weirdest freaking thing in my life. And so, even just at that point, I guess I had to feel the fear and do it anyway. The whole walk to the bus, I'm like, it was fearful. It was full of fear. But I guess once you immerse yourself in the process, and you figure it out. And so that fear begins to subside, and there's a level of normality. And so I think by kicking off this episode, I want you to think about that anything that you've done in your career or your life when you initially went there. Like we moved to Canada 8 years ago now. Is it more? 9 years ago coming up. That's the same process. And so I think from a young age, being the eldest of 6 kids myself, you kind of were the pioneer. Like you got experimented on. That's kind of how it rolled. And so the old man was pretty tough. He didn't give a shit about my feelings, and he would just go, well, you're going to a high school now, and go walk to the bus. Like there wasn't much. He really didn't have a lot of empathy. And it sort of, I guess that kind of created my world in my, my mind. It set the understanding that life is not about being comfortable up front. You just make it your own. So I'd encourage you guys, we're talking about embracing the climb. We're talking about overcoming fear, achieving, larger goals as a general contractor or a builder. And that's where we want to go. We want to be mindful that our success lies outside of our comfort zone. Okay. And so everything that we do, we want to go from, a fearful position to a confident position. So we don't want to talk about ego, but you want to really work towards going, okay, I am fearful. And I think one business mentor of mine said way back, like we feel the fear of doing it anyway. He would say, mate, we're always going to get butterflies. You just make those bastards fly in formation. That was kind of it, So side note, even as a guy that plays in a rock and roll band that plays covers, there's an element of fear and trepidation when you know that you're going to play a gig, because you don't want to look like a fool because you messed up. There's some guitar parts that intimidate me a lot, because you go, if you don't get this perfectly, people will know. And that's a fear factor. So, there's some songs like, I'm working on Mr. Brightside by The Killers at the moment. That intro with my sausage fingers really is difficult. And I don't want to go and put that to the band until I know I can nail it, because I am full of fear in that regard. However, Shook Me All Night Long by AC/DC, I'm all over that like a fat kid on a donut. Okay? So that I'm not fearful. I'm not full of fear. I've done the work. I've executed that one well. Whereas this one here, I'm just learning. And so it gets me back into that fear and trepidation. So you as an apprentice right now listening to this perhaps, or as a carpenter who's just about to get his builder's license, and you go, the big bad world of running a building company, like there's all of these things. Or, whether you're an existing building company, you're in a one-man band, you're wearing all the hats, and you want to start, recruiting people, and you want to start, systemizing and delegating, that level is also going to be, there's going to be fear and trepidation as well. And so, I think if we embrace the climb, we just know that if we are to have a better business and make more money and all those sorts of things that are attached to the opportunity that is construction, I think once we just go, hey, this is par for the course. I've been through this, feeling atmosphere before. I've just got to apply myself, be consistent, work hard, be very open to change, and we'll make it through. So I've got 3 points here about, embracing the climb and how we can do that. The first one there is about just seeing the mountain differently. So like I was just alluding to, we don't want to go, I don't want you to be, your ambition to be stifled. I don't want you to get the paralysis of analysis, okay? Action really cures anxiety. I think what happens is we spend too much time looking at the mountain and running all these bullshit, scenarios in our brain about what could happen, instead of just dealing with the facts. And that is, put one foot in front of the other and move. Let's go. Because what we'd like to do, whether it's Smith & Sons or it's Elite Business Advisory, I preach the concept of initiate and optimize. So look, just begin. It's hard to steer a vehicle or a car that's not moving. If the vehicle is moving, now I've got some influence on that, and I can make adjustments, and I can really correct the direction of that vehicle. So look at your business the same way. We really need to see the mountain, differently. And, why do mountain climbers climb Mount Everest? And they'll tell you it's because it's there, which makes no sense to me, because that shit scares them. Like, I ain't doing that. I got no desire to go and get cold and climb up 8,000 plus meters and potentially kill myself up there. It's like, I'm not doing that. So, we've got to see the mountain of building a business as it's an adventure and it's fun. Now, I'm sure that if you're up there and your life is on the line and you're trying to climb Mount Everest, it's not blue skies and rainbows. There's storms that roll in that will push these guys back down the mountain. It will create accidents. It will create shortage of oxygen. All these kinds of things That's part of climbing the mountain. So you don't just go and look at the mountain and go, there's the summit, I'm guaranteed of making it, and it's going to be like, pissing into the ocean. I can't miss. That's it's so far from the truth. If that's what you think, you need to go and work for someone for a little while and maybe understand with more clarity as to what business is. The goal of business is to stay in business, and staying in business means you've got to be profitable, and being profitable is an art form and it's scientific. And the person that you are today, if you want to 3x, 5x, 10x the business that you've got, you aren't the person today that you need to be to see those businesses develop at that level. Right, some practical tips, because this is where we want to be. Reframe the challenge. So we want to view these larger goals as a series of just smaller goals. So when you're climbing to the top of Mount Everest, you think, okay, we're going from base camp to one camp, or camp number 1, camp number 2, camp number 3. I think there's a fourth maybe, and then there's the summit. So you can look at those macro goals and go, but hang on, I've got to break this down to get to just, from base camp to camp number 1 is just a bunch of steps and surviving that section. But if I do that 4 times, that'll get me to the summit. So we want to really break down the goals. We want to create manageable tasks, rather than a single sort of insurmountable mountain. So we want to break that journey down to steps that we can actually are more palatable, and it makes the journey of climbing that mountain less intimidating and way more achievable. Second thing is focus on progress. Celebrate the small victories. I think that, for me personally, because and I will say this, with a high level of conviction, that there is more stuff that challenges, because we're always pushing through ceilings. So it kind of feels like far out. Every time we turn around, there's something going pear-shaped or awry, or there's, a challenge that hits my desk. And, so every time that there is something where we have a win, as small as it is, I will savor the moment. I'm thinking, right, we are making progress. And I think it's important for you guys and gals, as you build your business, it doesn't matter how small you are now or how big you are, you're pushing through ceilings. It's all relative. Okay. And so, really when it comes down to it, your ability, your resilience to continue, but at the same time, not getting high on your own supply because you do have some success. I think that we want to enjoy it for a moment in time, but we've got to be careful too. If you do get stuck in enjoying that moment for too long, you'll lose the momentum. So we've just got to, focus on the progress, celebrate the small wins along the way, recognize, appreciate the progress that's made, and that will help you. This is what happens. It will help you become more motivated. It will increase your motivation. And here's the deal. It'll increase your confidence and therefore reduce your fear, because now you comprehend the process. It's very much wash, rinse, and repeat. It's that initiate, optimize. And so, there's a part of me now, being so long in the tooth, where I enjoy the challenge probably more so than the achievement is great. But you spend most of your life in the challenge zone. There's no question. So when you're enjoying the challenge of being in that zone, that's where your longevity will be. Because you as a player now, your bandwidth, your capacity, your level of endurance, the resilience in you as the human being, that is increasing all the time. And so because your confidence goes up, all of those other things I just mentioned, they are a natural byproduct of development that happens within you as a human being. So let's keep moving. So we want to adopt a growth mindset, so we want to embrace the challenges, opportunities for growth and learning, of course, but we want to understand that each step, even as difficult as it is, it will contribute to your personal and professional development. And so I think I've used the analogy before that we don't go to the gym and lift no weight, whether it's body weight or whether it's plates. Resistance builds muscle mass. So when you're benching or whether you're curling, that it's the pressure on your muscle group that is going to break that down and then it'll grow back and it's larger. That's the plan. So for you as a business owner, it's the same thing. When you do get beat up and you're lifting a lot of weight and you can feel that resistance it's pushing on you. I think if we don't quit, we'll win. That is something that I've lived by. If I don't quit, we'll win. So if I get into a position where I've started something, it's highly unlikely I will quit on that until I've absolutely got nowhere to turn. And so there is that point of where you've got to realize that all the motivation in the world, all the positive thinking in the world is not going to save the day. And so you've got to be very responsible and go, okay, I do. And there's things in my life in the past where I've got to a point, years and years of struggle, where I've just gone, you know what, this is not sustainable, the business model, and I don't get on anymore and I'm out, and that's okay. So we got to make sure that we do balance that up. But I would urge you to, just because it gets a little bit tough, please don't even think about quitting. Just look at the opportunity to learn and grow. Right. Second point is we want to you're turning goals into plans for action. And so, if we want to set goals which are only dreams unless there's a plan that's attached to it to help us, make it happen. So we really want to understand the challenge that is in your life. So undefined goals can seem impossible to achieve without a clear plan of action. So here's some practical tips. Right, we want to set some SMART goals. So if you haven't heard, we call them SMART goals because that acronym of SMART stands for specific goals, measurable goals, achievable goals, relevant, and time-bound. So your goal setting must be set up in accordance with that SMART acronym. And so that'll help you get clarity in formulating actionable plans as well. So if you can get all of those boxes ticked, is it specific? Yes. Is it measurable? Yes. Is it achievable? Yes. You don't want goals that are, you want goals that are not out of reach, right? Because what happens is then you get disheartened. And if you're not understanding the power of resetting goals, you will just slump back into your normal way of life and you'll be running a business by default, not by design. So, we want them out of reach, but not out of sight, okay? And then they're relevant and they're time-bound. So they've obviously got to be pertinent to where you are as a business owner and what, business you want to achieve in the next 12 months. Short-term goals is that 12-month goal, and then we break that down into 90-day blocks. And then, of course, you've got 3 to 5 year goals, and then you've got your 10-year goals, which is your BHAG. So that's really what we do. So we want to break it down. We want to divide those larger goals. So you might have that overall 10-year goal, which is going to be a big, hairy, audacious goal. And then you want to break that down into that 3 to 5 years. And then, of course, your yearly. What am I doing? And then, of course, we take that yearly goal. I was only chatting with a client yesterday, and we talked about if we want to achieve that revenue target, there was a bunch of things. Personally, there was some change that was needed, some systemization within the business, more focus on business metrics, because as the business revenue grows, that's where metrics are going to be more in demand. Like it's important that we see round corners when you're doing $1 million a year, but when you want to do 5 million, the chance to lose money because the machine or the monster requires more revenue to service. If you aren't watching what's happening on the horizon, that will come up fast and you will get blindsided financially. So we had to make sure that we were really on top of how we were doing it. So create a detailed plan, specific tasks. We want to reverse engineer. That's what I was talking about. And so, I want to look at that yearly goal, and then I want to say, right, when I boil it right back down, what is the goal that I need to achieve this month? What's the goal I need to achieve in the next 90 days? And then that rolling on every 90 days. So every month inside the 90 days, what is it that I'm trying to achieve? So when we're looking at key activity, we're looking at metrics that say, right, if I want to do a 3 million, if I'm a builder or a general contractor and I want to do $3 million worth of contracts or sales, then I'm going to need $15 million worth of inquiry if I convert at a rate of 20%. So $15 million worth of inquiry, 20% of that is 3 million, right? So if we get halfway through the year and we've only got, $5 million worth of inquiry, well, clearly we're not going to hit our $3 million goal. We might hit a $2 million goal. So we've got to always be, so this is why we're always looking at stacking the data, looking for trends. So if you're not tracking, say, the numbers of leads and the value, the forecast build value of those leads and then you're looking at hitting a target of, say, 10 million or 15 million or 8 million, whatever it is to you, and you understand and you don't know what your conversion rate is, you're dead in the water. Like, you've got no ability to forecast. Okay, so you're just running day to day, and that's reckless. It's like, driving your car down the road with a blindfold on. It's like flying an aeroplane in the dark, no horizon, and you really don't understand the attitude of the aircraft. You don't know what your altitude is. You don't know what your fuel levels are. You don't even have access to a radar. So you have no, like, it's just ludicrous. Like, if I interviewed a pilot on this podcast, if I interviewed a pilot, and I could get my mate Jace, who flies for WestJet, if I sat him down and said, Jace, do you ever fly your aircraft with the dashboard black? And he will have the biggest giggle, because it's illogical, right? It's dangerous. It's deadly. So, and yet we do it in the business sector. So, guys and gals, let's focus on a plan and creating a detailed action plan to achieve that. We've got to make sure we've got those deadlines, but also responsible parties. If we're going to outsource it, we just need to make it clear as to what their responsibilities are as it relates to breaking it down and putting that action plan together. I think project management tools. And I think this is double-edged. It's double-sided. So, of course, as a building company operator, we have project management tools, but also internally for our business management side, we use tools like Trello. Okay, and so my video team, my content creation team, we lean on Trello a lot. I also have a remote financial administrator, and her and I, we use that as a medium to be able to communicate as to where we're up to as far as issues and things going on in the finance world. So project management tools. The other one that I've got, is obviously the activity key metrics spreadsheet. We've got work in progress accounting. We've got cash flow forecasts. We've got project start schedules. And then I've got a separate piece of software that we use for a lot of our strategic planning, i.e. what is the strategic planning? We do the SWOT analysis therein. We set the goals there and baselines. We do the org chart in there as well. There's training videos in that as well. So that's a way that I like to deal with, whether they're Smith & Sons guys or whether they're EBA clients. That is a place where we can actually go back into from a strategic planning standpoint, and that's the tool that we use if we ever want to quantify some direction. Okay, we're going to make some recruitment moves. Okay, what does the org chart look like currently, and what are we shooting for? So again, it's very specific. There's not a wasted motion, both personally and the business. It's always about continuous improvement. What is it that we can do better today than what we did yesterday? Okay. Regular review and adjust. So this is another practical tip for turning goals into plans for action. Regularly review and adjust. Periodically review the action plan to ensure it remains aligned with the overall goal and make adjustments as necessary to stay on track. That's pretty straightforward. What you don't measure, you can't manage. What you don't measure, you can't improve, okay? So that audit of the process on a regular basis. As I catch up with my franchisees at least once a week. I have meetings with all my EBA clients once a week, and I'm always, the first thing we do is obviously we review the notes, but before we do, I get the weekend review. Give us the good, the bad, the ugly. What hurt? What did you learn? All of that kind of stuff. That's what I'm looking for, because if I'm going to help a business athlete improve, what I'm always trying to do is push them to go faster, to do more, to compose themselves more. And that's that auditing process. That is very difficult for you to do on yourself. I enjoy the opportunity of talking with a business partner because I like to, hey, this is what happened. What do you think? What's your thoughts? Where do you think we should go from here? Because I just like to flush that out and give it to someone who's not emotionally wrapped up in the program. And I think sometimes we can find it difficult to really do an audit on ourselves. So there's another quick tip as well. Right, point number 3, overcoming fear and taking action. So I alluded to this in the beginning. Fear of failure or the unknown can paralyze action and hinder progress toward larger goals. So that's what I said. You get the paralysis of analysis, and that is not good. So, okay, Max, what do I got to do? What are some practical tips that I can introduce into my thought process, into my activity during the day and the week to help me slowly deconstruct the hold and the influence fear has on our ability to execute? Because remember, ideas are shit, execution is the game. So guys and girls, we want to be able to execute, feel the fear, do it anyway. We want to operate outside of our comfort zone. We really want to enjoy that adrenaline rush of, okay, I'm really feeling like I'm caught short, but I'm going to trust my natural instinct and my ability to respond and my ability to keep my composure in the state of high pressure situations. And I'm telling you, if you can master that process, there's not much that you can do. Now you can't take massive jumps, right? So every opportunity that every time you get to put one foot in front of the other and get a little bit stressed, and you start to master that, you go, boy, I really got that. I was freaking out about that a little bit, but once I got through it, or I got into it and I got through it, I look back and I go, you know what? I navigated that really well. That is the kind of resilience that you and I as business owners, we need to enjoy. So, there's a lot of the time that even as parents, we want to protect our kids and we want to make sure they don't skin their knees. But we love it when we see the kids go, no, it's okay. I want to have a crack at this by myself. And you go, ooh, that's a little bit of a worry. But at the flip side, it's like, well, that is the best learning curve. That will be the best teacher. Win, lose, or draw, that person will come out of that experience learning something. And I think that's the best thing. Right. So practical tips for overcoming fear and taking action. The first one is just acknowledge the fear. Recognize that it is what it is. It's a natural part, of stepping out of the comfort zone. It's that, before I take that step and I commit to that route, there's always that going to be. So acknowledge the fear. Now, something that's important too, the next tip is to visualize success. I think, because this is about goal setting. The visualization is about living in that moment through virtual reality that says, okay, give me a very high definition understanding of what it is that I am trying to achieve. Because I tell you what that does. It excites, it motivates, and it will help build the confidence. Because despite the feeling of fear, we're going to make those fear butterflies fly in formation, aren't we, kids? That's what we're going to do. And so, I think when I say, hey, feel the fear and do it anyway, or hey, make the butterflies fly in formation, the way we do that, that's actually a natural byproduct of visualization and getting a high def understanding of what it is that I'm trying to achieve in this meeting or in this, in this quarter, based on this, and this that I've got to do. It feels like there's overwhelm. And I think sometimes that state of overwhelm, I want you to be encouraged, because when you're in that state of overwhelm, if you push through it, potentially you'll look back on it and go, I was right on the threshold of breakthrough. And so, for me, every time I feel a sense of overwhelm, I'm like, I'm getting close. I'm going to crack this. And I want you to be encouraged, okay? Instead of removing yourself because you go, I feel overwhelmed, and you remove yourself, what you've done is you've just really taken away your chances of learning categorically something that the only way that you were going to get the understanding was because of pushing through that. So visualize your success. The positive mental imagery can build confidence and reduce fear. So there you go. We want to build the confidence, reduce the fear. Or we want to, probably more specifically, we don't want that fear to neutralize our activity. And so what we want to do is we want to neutralize the influence that fear has over us as a human and be able to go ahead and move forward because our confidence level, and that will come through visualization. I believe in it a lot, whether it's in the business, whether it's, when I'm racing, whether I'm, playing rock and roll, I'm always envisaging a great outcome. And I think that is really the beginning of your ability to remove fear as a controlling factor from your life and introducing confidence in its place, which you will get exponential benefit from going forward as far as your business development is concerned. Right. Next practical tip is take incremental steps. So start small, manageable actions that will gradually build your confidence and reduce the fear. It's all of these things where we're trying to neutralize fear and increase confidence. Okay. There's nothing better there's nothing that motivates better than a little bit of success. Okay. That's why small steps, more manageable bites is always a good thing. Right. The next one is learn from the setbacks. Okay, so these are practical tips for overcoming fear and taking action. View the setbacks as learning opportunities rather than failures. Analyze what went wrong. Adjust the plan. Keep moving. See, it's got to be quick. See, if you don't get bogged in the failure because you are understanding that failing forward is an advantage, that concept will give you a competitive advantage if you want to be a successful entrepreneur. You never ever go, oh, I failed. Woe is me. I'm no good. I suck. Like that verbiage should not even come into you. Like, you've got to understand the holistic approach to business success and thriving as an entrepreneur. This is the game. You don't jump in the octagon going after a belt and think you're going to walk out there smelling like roses. You will not. You will work for it. You will bleed. You will come out with bruises. But Is it hard? Yes. Is it possible? Yes, it is. Is it challenging? Absolutely. But is it worth it? You betcha. So always think about that. I've got a tip from Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, Schwarzenegger emphasizes the importance of having a clear vision. He advises to trust yourself, okay, and break some rules. Now, I kind of don't mind doing a bit of that, meaning trust your instincts, be bold, and don't be afraid to deviate from the conventional path if it leads to your vision. I know this. For a guy that run, 2.5, 3 years worth of podcasts before I got into the business coaching world, which is, where I founded elitebusinessadvisory.com. For me, for coming into that sector, I'm a very rustic, raw. I have a different approach as a business coach. Okay. There's a lot of guys in my fraternity of business coaches in the mastermind group, my association, that I spend time there, that are a lot more polished. They come from a very, high class, white collar background. But for me, based on listening to the marketplace, I knew that I had an opportunity there, but it's very different to the other coaches in my world. And so for me, that was about, like Schwarzenegger talks about, break some rules. Like there's some things that I do that are very unorthodox as it relates to some strict business coaching protocol. And I kind of stubborn my nose at that and just going, well, I'm listening to what my intuition is saying to me, and I'm listening to what my clients want or my prospective clients want, and I'm gonna follow through on that. So I will listen. Knowledge is not hard to carry around, but at the end of the day, like Schwarzenegger said, you've got to listen to your instinct. You've got to follow your intuition. Okay, and once you have that relationship with your intuition, your business life will get better. It will definitely be a massive asset for you to lean on going forward. All right. In conclusion, obviously it's important to embrace the climb. We want to turn these goals into actionable plans, and we want to, in overcoming the fear, to achieving the larger goals is what our focus is. That is, our eyes have to be on that prize, and we really have to make sure that we don't let the fear be a major influence or a contributing factor and stifle our confidence and our ability to grow and move forward in our business. If you've got any questions around, any of this that you've just heard, or anything else that's, out there, feel free to email me, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com. Check out elitebusinessadvisory.com if you're interested in maybe getting to know me a little more on the coaching front. I'd love to spend 30 minutes with you and just push as much value, understand your business as quickly as I can and you as a human, and then really double down on some strategy you might be able to take away and actually implement that's very customized. And that's really what coaching is all about, customized approach. Get across to Business for Builders VIP. Get amongst that. Let's push some questions out there. Let's you put a question out, that's good karma, and I'm going to start dropping some questions that I've had via email over the last 2, 3, 4 years, and really help you to use that as a very good catalog or library for some education. Like and subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. Enjoy what it is that you are doing today or tonight or tomorrow or next week. Go build a kick-ass business. I'll see you on the next episode. Cheers.